The answer to that question is a resounding yes. This is possibly top 3 Nolan films for me. Before we dive into it, I did want to address all the controversies that surround this film. I am well aware of just about any and all controversies that have been following this film like the plague up to its release. The way that I see them, they are just a bunch of noise. I've heard complaints from everything from Elliot Page to Travis Scott being in here to the language, the way they speak. I wouldn't be even surprised if I heard controversies about the font that the ending credits were used for. It's a bunch of bupkis, a bunch of phooey, a bunch of just horseradish. Honestly, it does not deter me or take away from the experience of the movie whatsoever. At the end of the day, I think it is just a lot of noise. My questions when it comes to film are just, is the film fun? Did it entertain me? Do I recommend the film? Those are essentially the questions that I walk into every film with. I would judge this film solely on its own, the presentation that was delivered to us, and just ignore all the internet noise. I'll go ahead and answer the questions at hand, and then we can do a deep dive into the film, as it were. Was the film fun? Or in this case, was it entertaining? And to that, I say yes. It's a film that takes itself pretty seriously. It requires a lot of your attention. It's not a mindless doom scroll movie in the background type of film here. This is something that you really need to watch, and it takes your full concentration with. Much to the same vein that most, if not all, Nolan films do. It clocks in at just under 3 hours, and I will say, prior to watching the film, I did brush up on the book ever so slightly to sort of jog my memory. And I will say something that I noticed is the film, even though it clocks in at that 3 hour time frame just about, there are aspects of the film that I feel like are relatively streamlined. It hits these story beats, kind of moves forward. It's like, all right, we're here. All right, we're here. All right, now we move on to here. All right, now we move on to here. And I recall my experience with the book. Maybe I'm just a slow reader. I don't know, maybe. But I remember the book sort of taking its time more so than the film did. I almost want to believe that there is a longer version of this film somewhere to be found. There may be a Nolan cut somewhere in here, but there were some things more fleshed out. There were some things that took their time more so, as I recall, in the book versus the film, and I do understand that we have to meet that time frame. Nobody's going to sit down to watch a 4 hour movie unless you like Zack Snyder's Justice League, but it's something that I actually kind of wanted, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a universal thing. I can totally understand if nobody wants to be there for a 3+ hour movie, but as I was saying, there are things that are fleshed out more, kind of take their time with more in the book, and I kind of wanted to see that up on the big screen. So just for me personally, I would totally be down for a longer film. If someday we ever do see a Nolan cut, a director's cut of the film, or extended edition, anything of that nature, I would totally be down to experience that. Our last question that I like to do is answer, do I recommend the film to others? And to that I would say yes, but it may also be for a select audience. I don't think this is one that is going to appeal to everyone. It is a longer film. It takes itself pretty seriously for the most part. It's something that I don't think I would recommend to younger audiences. This is something that I would almost see as more privy to an older audience, essentially 20 years or older. I don't think this is something that will necessarily entertain or captivate that of a younger audience. Not to say that there's an overabundance of necessarily violence or any type of gruesomeness that isn't present in other films or TV shows alike. I've definitely seen a lot worse in modern film, but just to the overall stature, the overall pace of the film, the overall message that it's trying to deliver to the audience, I could see really targeting that older audience as in 20 years and up. And maybe I'm dead wrong. Maybe younger audiences enjoy the film too. I just feel that if I was in that younger audience, I would not have enjoyed the film as much as I did today. That being said, I do recommend the film. I think the film was very entertaining. I wouldn't necessarily call it fun, but I do like the story beats, the message that it was sending, the overall journey that we went on. I think it was very well depicted here. I think it hits all the story beats, the climactic points from the source material to an outstanding degree. I think the film does a very good job in its execution overall. Again, I just want to say all the controversy surrounding the film, I would just treat that as just a bunch of noise that should probably just go in one ear and out the other. I really think that everybody should judge this film based on their own experience having seen the film and not just don't even just listen to my opinion. Just see the film for yourself, form your own opinion, and definitely get back to me. Put those opinions down in the comments. If you found this film to be a bit too serious for your taste, I do also recommend you go watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? In case you didn't know, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is also a loose retelling of the Odyssey, all that to a more comedic degree. This is very much a comedy film, complete with John Goodman as the Cyclops. That was a very, very good depiction there. I really enjoyed that. Very good film. That is the yin to this film's yang. Not in the fact that one's good, one's bad, just that one is funny and one is serious, essentially. All that being said, thank you for sticking with me.